Welcome to Getting Your Ducks in a Row. I'm Jason Windle, and today I'm joined by Lizzie Bennett, Chief Operating Officer at Blencowe Scaffolding. Lizzie's journey into construction world wasn't a conventional one, working her way up to become one of the key figures at Blencowe. We talk about the reality of running a scaffolding company, from managing large-scale projects like heritage, restorations and iconic buildings, to dealing with skill shortages, rising costs and the challenges of bringing new talent into the industry. This episode is packed with insight and straight-talking advice. Enjoy. Morning, Lizzie. Lovely to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. If you wouldn't mind, just start off by introducing yourself to our listeners, that'd be great.
So I'm Lizzie from Blencowe Scaffolding. I am the COO recently. Been in the industry for 12 years now, been with the company for 8.
One of the things that I'm really sort of interested in is your journey through the industry. And perhaps, to give some people who are listening that maybe have considered a career in construction or maybe hadn't considered it, a bit of an idea of what it's been like for you.
Okay, so at the moment, it's mainly the operations. So I deal with everything from the managers to where the lads go to what goes on in the yard. A lot of vehicle dealings, a lot of site dealings. I do client visits, site meetings and account meetings as well.
So you're basically the hub that keeps everyone organised and everyone where they should be, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
That must be quite tricky because I mean, we'll go into Blencowe and the, what the business does, but it's a pretty big business, right? I mean, you've taken over Hampshire by the looks of it, and you've got some really big projects going there. So I imagine it's quite a big operation. There's a lot of people to organise.
Yeah, we're across 3 depots. We're down a little bit on numbers at the moment, but we can range anywhere from 40 to 80 scaffolders, 12 office staff, 2 directors.
So what sort of led you to where you are now? Because, it's quite, I say common, but from speaking to people having been in the industry for a while and, clients we work with, they're one of the main pain points, I think, for the industry is a sort of labour shortage and a lack of sort of people coming through into the industry. And for whatever reason, I mean, we can chew the fat on that a bit more, but it doesn't appear to be an appealing sort of avenue for people who are looking to start a career. How did you start out and what sort of brought you to the construction industry, if you like?
If I'm honest, Jason, I fell into it.
Okay.
I was selling pens and pencils, had enough, walked down the road, walked into a recruitment agency, said, find me a job. They found me a job. I was in hire and sales. When I went into it, touching on being a woman in the industry is hard. The first year was the hardest year of my career, trying to get your name known, to kind of know that you're not a blonde bimbo that just sort of prances around the office, selling things, I suppose. After the first year, it was really enjoyable. Moving from hire and sales into what I'm doing now was quite easy because you know the industry, you know the people, you know what to expect. But yeah, it wasn't at career choice age was I definitely want to go into scaffolding. Yeah, I definitely want to go into construction. It was just something that I fell into and then fell in love with.
Right, okay. And I mean, it's funny you say about the sort of falling into a job. I mean, I very much did that. When I sort of left school, I left school with, say bare minimum qualifications, but, I didn't go into any further education. And I fell into the legal sector. And just because my next door neighbour at the time, he had a job in the industry and said, we were having a beer one day and he said, why don't you try this? Yeah. And I fell into it and I was in it for, blimey, too long really, close to 10 years, maybe a bit over. And that's before I obviously started here and built this business. But it sounds to me like I didn't enjoy that industry. I fell into it, stayed in it probably for longer than I should have done because, met my partner, had children, got a mortgage, it's a bit of a cliche, it happens to a lot of us. But I wasn't fortunate because I didn't enjoy it and it took quite a lot for me to move away from it and start this and, pretty much not change sort of careers really in the sense that I'm still, what I did before was a lot of business development, sales and marketing. So I'm still doing that, but just in a different industry. And obviously I'm working for myself and this is my business. So that's obviously different. But you seem to be one of the fortunate ones where you've come into it and you're doing really well, right? You're a COO of a big construction company, so you there must be a level of enjoyment there. And whilst maybe you fell into it, but you're enjoying it, and it's a career that you want to pursue.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a career that people pick, but that's because it's not available. A lot of schools, colleges, you can go into hair and beauty, which is what I went into in college. You can go into, like you say, law, maths, science-based things, but construction isn't made readily available for those people, Jason, like me and you, that come out of schools with minimal qualifications. I mean, I didn't even get maths and English when I was in school. I had to get them through college. So for those that come out of school with minimal qualifications and actually want to do a hands-on job, they don't want to be sat in an office all day long, etc. That isn't readily available. And I think, like you say, chewing the fat, that is one of the reasons why we've got such a skill shortage within construction, is because it's not marketed. It's not what kids are focused to be able to do. But I think going on from that, it's parents' education as well as school education. Because at the end of the day, at the age of sort of year 9, where they're trying to pick what they'd like to do, a lot of it is parents' influence.
Yeah, okay. I mean, just what you said there about it not being an option or not being available. What would you say, if you could sort of name one main reason why? What would you say that was? That it's just not an option. Why do we think that?
It's a really hard one. It is. The industry as a whole is quite high risk. So is that why it's not been given as an option? I mean, you can go into colleges and do bricklaying, etc. So it's not construction. The closest college to us for scaffolding is 3 hours away. At 17, most of today's society wouldn't jump on a train and stay away for 2 weeks. They'd want to go to college 9 till 3 and go home. But as for it being not readily available, apart from it being one of the high-risk industries, I just don't think we have the resources to make it available. And I don't think anyone has the understanding, especially with scaffolding in the construction sector. People don't understand it.
I'm seeing that a lot, actually. I think it's a common thing, right? When you're in a particular job role or sector or whatever it may be, when you've been doing it for a while, you obviously become savvy and you become competent and you understand the way it works, and you make the assumption, I think it's a subconscious thing, I don't think we do it consciously, that everyone else is at that level of knowledge, right?
Yep.
It's like, just going a bit off piste here, but during COVID, and I'm teaching my young son at the time, he was obviously off school and we had to homeschool like everyone else. And I remember sitting there and we were doing a maths sort of exercise, and I had to explain to him about the basic, which was actually really difficult, by the way, but the basic concept of multiplication. Now, I know that the reason I say that is when you start out, you have no concept really of how anything works and what the sort of nuances are in the industry, what's available, how you get into it. This is all really basic stuff that for people that have been in it for a while, you just assume that people know. So your starting point, your starting point as someone's in the industry is, say, here, where actually we need to bring it down to here because we need to be at the ground level and helping nurture these people through it. And your point about the sort of skill shortage and it not perhaps being marketed as an option, as in people not being aware of it, is I think a real shame, because I think there's so much going on in the industry. The world is quite an exciting place, I think, at the moment, depending on how you look at it. But in terms of the tools that are available to us, the digital transformation, the various different technologies that are becoming available, that are new, and all the rest of it. And a lot of that is being introduced into construction because it's helping, transform the way it operates, efficiency and stuff like that. So it's not just, the old school traditional jobs, which are absolutely there and available. And there's a lot of there certainly should be a lot of interest in them because they're a very interesting job. But there's also this other side to it that's adding to all of that and helping that, which people just aren't aware of. And I think really is a lot going on in the industry, which partly what this podcast is for, right? But if we could just get the message out there, that I think it would make a much more appealing option for people.
Well, there's roles. I've done a lot of like college events. I've been into seminars. I've done careers events. I've had young girls walk up to me. Oh, you're from Spa Shop? No, I'm not. Well, where are you then? In the scaffolding sector. I didn't even know that was a possibility, that I could work in that sector as a female. I've done talks in colleges. They're at the point where they're 2 years into college and they didn't know how to get into it or what to do, because you've got to stay in education till 18 now. But between the ages of 16 and 18, it's actually really hard to get employment in scaffolding because of the risks. But because it's not offered at your local college, that gap between 16 and 18, they don't have that option. So you can go into it after 18, but most at 18 have already found a career path. I mean, the average age of a scaffolder is 59 in the UK.
Wow. That's crazy.
So that just goes to prove that it's not the younger generation that either want to come into it or have it as an option to come into.
Which is, I suppose, strange in a way. I'm not sure if strange is the right word, but we'll go with it for now. Because there's so much demand, I think, for construction, right? It's one of the sort of kingpins of the economy, right? If construction is good, I don't remember, people, my granddad used to say to me, if you see lots of cranes, then the economy's good because things are being built, industry's good, things are moving, right? So construction has, and maybe always will be, who knows, but certainly right now and for the short to medium term, let's say, it's an industry that is a big part of the economy. And we've got Labour's recent announcement towards the end of last year about housing demand, and we want to build 1.5 million houses in whatever time and all the rest of it. Put aside whether it's realistic or not. But it's not like it's this sort of sleepy industry that not a lot's really going on. No one really knows much about it because it just sort of happens over there. Like, it's in our faces every day. It's
where you go.
Everywhere you go.
Whether you're in a built-up area or a non-built-up area. They're either building an 8-bedroom house in a non-built-up area or a new office block in the city. Everywhere you go, there is something going on. Yeah,
it's for me, I find that there's a gap there. There's a significant gap, and I think there are a lot of reasons that we've touched on that sort of contribute to that. Just sort of moving on to you sort of looking into your expertise and your experience, what advice would you give to someone who is, say, coming out of school at 18, wants to go to work and is considering a career in construction? What advice would you give them?
Don't be scared. The industry's got a lot of persona. It's still got the old school vibe. It's still got the banter that you can't be a female, the wolf whistling off the top. Don't be scared. If it's something that you want to do, just do it. We've got to all stick together. We need to make it abundantly clear that anyone can be in the industry and anyone can do what they enjoy doing. It's just trying to ensure that people know that it is an option for them.
I like the what you mentioned there about the old school and the people that you're dealing with. I mean, coming from a legal background, you can imagine the types of people that I was dealing with, which I'm not sort of besmirching their good character or anything like that, but coming into this industry, and we deal with a lot of different companies within it, and therefore a lot of different personalities. And it's one of the things I would say, and one of the big sort of feathers that the industry as a whole has in its cap, is that it's very varied, and not just in terms of the avenues that are available to you, particularly now with the industry starting to embrace sort of new technologies and new ways of doing things and all the rest of it. But the people, it's so varied.
I've made some of my closest friends and some of my worst enemies.
Yeah.
But I think that that's the same in any business, but it is just different. It is. You can go down the pub and have a drink, but you can also have that little bit level of banter, but they know exactly who you are. It's a very personal industry. You know everyone, everyone knows you.
Yeah. And I'd imagine as well, it's a, I mean, who knows, right? But it's a safe industry in the sense that there's always work available, right?
Yeah.
It's not, we're not looking at something that's fading out or something that's just starting. It's been around for, you know, God knows how long. And it's, as we said, it's, you know, one of the kingpins of the economy.
Yeah, and no matter what anyone says, Labour, whoever comes in, it's going to be one of the industries that will carry on.
So looking at Blencowe, the company you're working for now, right? Let's sort of drill down a bit into what you guys do in your sort of the space in the industry that you guys occupy. So what is it like? What sort of services do you offer?
We do anything from heritage to new build to office blocks to your little tower at the front of your house because your window's leaking.
Wow. Okay. So that's a real like varied. That's like a range of project size there, I suppose, right?
Yeah, anything from small to big. Our biggest thing at the moment is heritage. We've done a lot of cathedrals. We're currently doing Devizes Town Hall, which there's drone footage going on, I think, tomorrow. We've done Winchester Cathedral. We've done St Margaret's Church in London. So yeah, heritage is probably where we're most comfortable.
Yeah, okay. And how, I mean, heritage is quite a, I'd say niche, really. I mean, it's not, I mean, residential and commercial, I mean, they're quite well known, but heritage, I imagine the types of projects you're working on there, like it takes that extra bit of care because you're dealing with older buildings and all the rest of it. So how did that sort of come about for you guys? How did that become an option?
Our MD works at Winchester Cathedral, and when they needed to do, I think it was the re-roof, he come up with the innovative plan of how to put all the scaffolding up. You can't tie into the building, you can't do this because of the ground, you've got to be careful of this. I mean, on Winchester, we had up to 18 blokes there, 2 cranes. It was a big project for us. And from that was probably where we got our marketing.
Okay. So that's like your the thing that you can use to demonstrate to other clients that you know what you're doing, basically.
That project still in all of the magazines, and I think it was completed 7 years ago.
Wow. But it's such a vocal point, right? I mean, everyone knows Winchester Cathedral. So
yeah.
to say that you have worked on that as a project is, you know, that's a big thing. How long does a project like that, like how long does it take from start to finish? Could you maybe give us a bit of insight into like how you plan something like that, how long the works would take, and then how you sort of leave it?
I mean, it all depends on what you're doing. When you look at heritage projects, a lot of them are re-roof because of the time that the building's been standing. So you're looking at anywhere from 6 months to a year for planning to get architects' drawings, designs, ground surveys, building surveys, etc. if needed. You can be on a project like that from anywhere from 10 weeks to 2 years.
I mean, if you get 2 years worth of work, that's fantastic, right?
This was one of our shorter terms. Winchester was one of our longer terms because we done internal and external.
And as a business, you guys, do you try and focus on longer term projects or shorter term, or do you try and mix it up a bit?
Everything, because when you've got a bit of everything, you've always got that backbone. Heritage, I would say, is our backbone. That's our big projects that are running. But all of the small intimate stuff just slots in between.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it, isn't it? Because as you say, you sort of all your eggs are not in one basket, and you can
100%.
With the smaller projects, you can, as you say, you can fit them in. Not like you're crowbarring them in. Forgive the pun, but you've got more fluidity in your diary, I suppose, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
So looking at, you mentioned earlier about careers fairs and stuff that you've been doing. You've been quite active in sort of trying to bring new people into the industry and fresh blood, if I can put it that way, without sounding too ominous. So what's Blencowe in terms of its team at the moment, are you looking to get more people on board? Are you looking at apprentices? What's your sort of recruitment drive at the moment?
I mean, a lot of our current apprentices are just coming through the end of their apprenticeship now. So I think within the next 2 months, I've got 4 that qualify out of 7. So a lot of them are coming through now. My goal would be to try and get, like you say, some fresh blood, some new apprentices, and try and get it so that our average age isn't quite the UK average age of 59.
Yeah, okay. Bringing in some new ideas maybe as well and fresh
Yeah,
perspectives.
yeah, fresh perspectives, some younger enthusiastic people that want to learn, want to do well, and want to understand the industry as well.
And what, just for anyone that's listening that may be interested, what does the sort of apprenticeship and then career path look for someone who is coming to be a part of your apprenticeship scheme? How would that sort of pan out for them?
Normally, we try and do like what you would classify as probation period. That would be in the yard for anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on candidate to candidate. That gives them the knowledge about the materials. It gives them that sort of little grow into the team, the lads, because scaffolders are quite a knit team. So bringing new people in can be a little bit daunting. So by bringing them into the yard, you've got that hour in the morning, hour in the evening, and then the day to try and learn everything, especially when you're bringing someone in that's completely blind, that's never even picked up a tube or a fitting before in their life. It gives them that head start in the yard to be able to go. Then you'd look at starting them on their apprenticeship, which is, I believe, now 9 weeks in college because they've just changed it again. So you've got your induction, your part 1A, part 1B, part 2A, part 2B, your endpoint assessment, and then your final assessment in college-wise. So it's normally 7 visits to college. I mean, we've had every form of person in, people that are really good reader and writers, people that aren't, people that are really good with their maths, no qualifications, all qualifications. They're just about to change it on the government as well with regards to what qualifications you've got to have in.
As in for the entry level?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What's that changing to?
It's not quite 100% confirmed.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think it's coming in April, finally. But it should be that they don't need anything and they can do their maths and English while they're on their apprenticeship.
Okay. So essentially removing or lowering the barrier, I suppose.
Yeah,
slightly.
lowering the barrier of qualifications that you need to be in at entry level to be able to get onto your apprenticeship.
Yeah, okay. And then, so looking at where we go after an apprenticeship, so say you're taken on by Blencowe, what could the path potentially be as a sort of long-term career? Like, obviously there's scaffolding, but are there routes into other areas potentially?
I mean, once you've done your scaffolding career, you can go on to be an inspector, a contracts manager, director. Just depends. You've got that qualification then to be a basic part 2 scaffolder. If you wanted to stay being a scaffolder, you could become an advanced scaffolder and get your black hat. Then you could get your supervisor's ticket, inspector's ticket. It opens that career option. And a lot of the time, especially with us, with a qualified scaffolder, we then put them through the HGV as well. So then that gives another career perspective. I mean, from being a scaffolder, you've already got your foot in the door. You've already got your foot in the industry. With regards to any job that you can find in scaffolding, a scaffolder is the best person to do that job because they know exactly what they're talking about. You look at pricing. To be able to price a job, you need to know how to put it up.
Yeah.
Therefore, the best person to price it would be a scaffolder or an ex-scaffolder.
You mentioned that just on that point, a good few years ago when I was younger, I did some work. I was basically a double glazing fitter's mate for a year, I think it was, literally as I came fresh out of school and before I went into the legal industry. And there was always a bit of, let's call it banter, between the surveyors and the fitters.
Yeah.
Because a lot of surveyors, and I don't know if it's still the same, I imagine it probably is, but a surveyor would turn up at a job, price it all up, whatever, arrange for the materials to be sent to site, fitter gets there and everything's wrong.
Yeah.
And because of the sort of the nuance behind it, like, for example, things don't always seem as they appear, for example. And as a fitter, you'd know, like, okay, I know it looks like this, but it's not going to be that, because when we rip it out, there's going to be this problem, that problem. And the best surveyors were always 100% of the time the people that had come up as fitters, and they were bang on, and they were on the money. But the people that had come into surveying, i.e. maybe they'd been to college or whatever and had got some sort of, perhaps a higher form of qualifications, shall we say, that allowed them to go straight in as a surveyor, they were always the ones that would make the mistakes, which is funny, right, when you think of it like that. I think the key sort of takeaway there, just on the path that you've sort of set out for us, is there are so many options available to people. There's always going to be, in the industry, there's always going to be an element of plying your trade and learning a part of the industry. But I think, as you say, once you get your foot in the door and you've done your, 2, 3, 4, however long it takes for you to get enough experience that you're able to then apply it to other areas, there are so many avenues available to you. And I think that's, without sort of labouring the point, excuse the pun, but that's one of the things that I'm keen to get across, is that there is a lot of choice out there for you.
100%.
And you can move into so many different areas, which I think if you're someone that wants hands-on, wants variety, then it'd be a good choice.
I mean, in 8 years, I've done 7 roles.
Yeah. Well, there you go, right?
So there's different for everyone, compared to bearing in mind what you enjoy and what you're good at.
Yeah. Looking at industry trends, so we've touched on them earlier about skill shortage. I think we may have touched on material cost as well being an issue. And these are sort of fairly well rehearsed, and well, certainly those within the industry are aware of them. But what sort of pain points are you seeing at the moment for your sort of sector of the industry?
Costs are massive, whether that be the fuel, the materials, buying new vehicles, everything. Costs are a big implication, and the prices that we're getting on the jobs aren't following suit to those costs. We're not getting 25% more because the costs have gone up by 25%. And skill shortages, as everyone knows, is a massive one.
What about one of the things that I've experienced, and just that's been relayed to me from clients that we work with, is planning regulations are a big issue. Are you like just the whole process being slow, elongated, perhaps in some cases a bit archaic with the regulations and how they work and how they all interlink? Is that something that you guys experience in what you do? I
mean, touching on that, we've got jobs that should have started last May, and we're looking at starting them this July. And whether
just because
that's
of
planning, bat surveys, pigeon surveys, you name it, it's been put on hold.
And I think, I mean, subject to what you think, one of the things that I think needs to go hand in hand with any construction drive that the Labour wants to put on, the government wants to put on, is there needs to be some planning reform. Because I think that alone, set aside the skill shortage, set aside material costs, planning issues are what's massively slowing down the whole process of construction, I think.
Yeah, 100%. They've got some hard work to do.
Yeah, definitely. But, well, in many areas. So, Blencowe, the future. What does the future hold? Where does the business want to go? What are its ambitions?
Ambitions-wise and future-wise, we want to be one of the leading scaffolding companies. We're up there, but we need to get bigger. We need to keep going. I mean, 60 odd years in the industry, I think we can move forward and be the leading scaffolding contractor for sort of our areas.
And have got any sort of plans for expanding the team, new offices, geographically, anything like that?
Offices will stay the same. The team will get bigger in order to be able to do the areas that we want to do and the jobs that we want to do.
Cool. All right. Well, Lizzie, that's been really insightful, and hopefully we're doing our small bit in making it a bit more accessible and sort of sharing information.
Yeah, definitely. But I think podcasts like this, Jason, are what will bring it forward. and keep the understanding going.
Yeah, I hope so. I genuinely hope so. As I say, I mean, I think we're both on the same page, and we've spoken a lot about it. But it's such a good industry to be in. We've both been in it for a decent amount of time. It's varied. There's a lot going on in it, and yeah, I really do hope that there is more talent coming through. It becomes more of an attractive option, and yeah, we help in that process.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Lizzie. Well, thank you very much. It's been a privilege talking to you. Thank you very much for your time. And no doubt, hopefully I'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, hopefully. And thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.